Hi, I'm just going to share my CLL journey with you all. Early in December 2017, I felt unwell. I thought it was a sinus infection I had. I did go to my chemist to get something for it, and I had noticed a little lump on my neck, and I mentioned it to him. And he said if it didn't go in 2 weeks, it was probably connected to the infection, but to go and see my doctor. A couple of days later, another one appeared. So I did go and see the doctor, and she did some blood tests, and then she called me back a few days later and just said my white blood count was very high and I needed to have some more investigations. So she booked me into the acute unit here in Galway, and I had tests done for the day. I was in there most of the day. In the afternoon, I met the lovely Dr. Hyatt, who came to see me, and then I was told that I had CLL. I had no idea what CLL was. I'd never heard of it, never anybody in my family, nobody. So I was given lots of booklets to read, and I was told about the watchful waiting and not to worry too much, and at least I could go home. I wasn't going to be kept in there. And then I had monthly appointments with the doctor, with the haematology department. My white blood count, I think at the time, at the beginning, was quite high. I think it was 120. So I was told again, if that doubled in the 6-month period, that I would have to start treatment then. I got a couple of infections along the way. One I had to be hospitalised with, just a high fever and just to stay in the hospital. Again, I was going like each month. So I think it was about 7 months after that, my white blood count went up to about 300,000. I think so. It was very high, and I was to start treatment. On one of the occasions I had the appointment, one of the doctors mentioned the clinical trials and gave me information about those, and explained like what would happen, etc. I did, one of my daughters who's here today, she read a lot more into it than I did and just thought it was the best way to go. So I had to have lots of tests done to see that I could go on to the trial, and I was accepted on the trial then when I needed treatment to start. I was randomised, and the trial was 4 different options, and I got the one with the newest treatments, which is the obinutuzumab, the ibrutinib and venetoclax. I had to stay in hospital for a little bit for the ramp up of the venetoclax. So I started the infusions first and the ibrutinib, and then would stay overnight for a few weeks just for the ramp up of the venetoclax. Looking back, I probably didn't have very bad side effects. I just took it all. You just have to get along with it. That's about it. With the ibrutinib, I think I had lots of cramping, so that was my main thing. The venetoclax, I had quite bad nausea in the evenings, and it was more like being on a boat, like sort of motion sickness. I took pills, stomach pill, from time to time, which was good. The only main thing I had was I became neutropenic, so my neutrophils were quite low. That was when I was ramped up to the 400 milligrams of the venetoclax. I had to come off it for a week just to see if they would settle down, because it went below 1, which is quite serious. And it was then decided, I went back on it at 200 milligrams, and it was decided that I would stay on that. It did help a lot, but I was still, I had to be very careful at times, just to make sure that, because my neutrophils did stay quite low. It all went well from there. Everything, it was just the sickness is really the most thing I can think about. There was a lot of pills to be taken on a daily basis, and you just have to get used to it. It wasn't that bad. I had my monthly checkups at the hospital then, but I managed to go back to work after all that, and it just did me well to be back in work. At least I could sort of forget for a little while. I would sort of feel I was normal, that I could do a job, and then, at least I could get that done and feel happy with myself. The main thing as well was, as soon as I started treatment, I had quite large nodes on my neck. They literally disappeared, in just a couple of weeks. It was really good. My energy levels came back. They were absolutely, I never realised how bad and fatigued I was at the time. So then that went on. I finished my trial then, just around in May, and I came off all of the pills I was on, and I had a bone marrow biopsy to see how things had gone along, and I had to wait about 2 weeks, I think, to see what happened. I think it was the longest 2 weeks of the whole year, just to see, and I met up with Dr. Hyatt then, and I got the best outcome ever. So I got the MRD negative, which is great, and I am now in remission, and hopefully it will last quite a while. And again, obviously, if I do need treatment in the future, there'll probably be newer drugs available then. For me, it was definitely the best thing I ever did. The care I got from the hospital itself, and my trial nurse, Orla, was absolutely brilliant. She was at the end of the phone if ever I had anything, to ask or anything. And so for me, it was the best thing that I did. So it was a quick year.